Okay, imagine this. What if the absolute worst things from your past, the stuff that haunts you, aren't just memories? What if they're like a blueprint for a future nightmare, ready to just
Yeah.
tear apart everything you care
Just
about?
a really chilling thought.
Yeah. So today we're doing a deep dive into a story that really sits right on that edge, blurring the lines between um, deep psychological trauma and something else, something genuinely malevolent.
Something supernatural almost.
Exactly. And our source material is pretty unique for this. We're pulling from Dean Koontz's novel, What the Night Knows, but also from these fictional journal entries written from the perspective of a serial killer within the story.
Right, which gives you this really unsettling dual perspective.
Totally.
Yeah.
And our mission here isn't just, to follow a scary story, though it is thrilling. We want to pull out the core ideas about fear, about vulnerability, the nature of evil itself, and maybe even find some unexpected paths to resilience in it all.
Yeah, how people cope or don't cope when faced with the truly inexplicable.
So you'll hear how a detective is wrestling with a mystery that just completely defies logic, how a family confronts something they can't explain, and what it really means when the past, well, refuses to stay dead and buried.
And it kicks off immediately with something deeply disturbing, a confession that's just wrong.
Right, let's start there. The Lucas murders. We have this 14-year-old kid, Billy Lucas, confessing to killing his entire family. But it's how he does it, his whole demeanor. It's incredibly unsettling.
Yeah, the source describes his voice as clear, measured, and mellifluous, like smooth, almost musical, which is creepy in itself. He was actually a choir boy.
Wow, okay.
Oh.
And he has this weird half smile, wistful and appealing, while he's talking about the killings.
Yeah, like he's remembering something pleasant, and there's this phrase used, quiet ecstasy. That's the vibe. Not remorse, not panic, but this calm, almost joyful state.
That just sends shivers down your spine. And the methods, they were specific, right?
Horrifically so. His mother, who was in a wheelchair, stabbed precisely 9 times in the kitchen. His father, clubbed with a hammer, the claw end hooked in his skull.
Oh, God.
And his grandmother, apparently she regained consciousness at some point, and he strangled her with her own scarf. The level of detail, the apparent satisfaction, it points to something way beyond a typical teenage breakdown.
It feels calculated, cold.
Exactly. Cold, yet ecstatic. It hints at that detachment, maybe something more than just a disturbed kid.
And this pulls our main character, Detective John Calvino, in, doesn't it?
Right.
Even though it's not officially his case.
Right. John's a homicide detective, but this case lands in another jurisdiction. But he can't stay away because it hits so close to home. 20 years earlier, when John was 14 himself.
The image is Billy Lucas.
Right. His own family, the Valdanes, technically, he was living with them. They were murdered. And the details are disturbingly similar: mother in a wheelchair killed in the kitchen. Just like Mrs. Lucas. John was the only survivor because he managed to kill the murderer, a man named Alton Turner Blackwood.
So this isn't just professional interest, it's deeply, deeply personal trauma resurfacing.
Massively personal. And then you get the 911 calls. This is where it gets really weird.
Yay.
Billy Lucas calls 911 and says, "The prank is over. I pranked them all. I pranked them good. Come see." Just like that. Chillingly calm.
Okay, creepy.
But then compare it to a call Blackwood made 20 years earlier after another set of murders, the Sollenbergs. Blackwood said, "I'm the same artist who did the Veldane family. It's a beautiful thing."
Wow. The same artist. And Billy calls it a prank. That parallel. It's not subtle.
Not at all. It feels like a direct echo, almost intentional. It's the first big clue that this might be more than just a copycat crime or a coincidence. It feels like a direct link, maybe even a taunt aimed right at John.
So John obviously feels compelled to look closer. He goes to the state hospital where Billy's being held.
Yeah, unofficially. He observes Billy through a two-way mirror, and Billy, without apparently being told who's watching, seems to know it's John. He knows his name. That's the question. Billy says something like, "You should have brought me something. You should have made an offering." And then, just to ramp up the creep factor, he urinates against the glass partition.
Ugh. Okay, that's confrontational and bizarre. What about the staff there?
Well, there's an orderly, Coleman Haynes, big guy, former Marine. He's seen a lot. And he says to John, basically, if this kid's not insane, what the hell is he?
That's a heavy question coming from someone who works there.
Right. And Haynes has his own tragedy. His sister was murdered years ago. He's grounded, but even he is deeply unsettled by Billy. He also points out that Billy definitely shouldn't have had access to a phone, raising the question of how Billy got John's unlisted number to, well, implicitly summon him.
So conventional explanations are starting to fray around the edges for John.
Big time. It pushes John to do something else outside the lines. He goes to the Lucas house. Unauthorized visit to the crime scene.
What does he find there?
First, the smell. Just this awful mix of stale milk and blood, described as rancid. But then, something stranger. He hears this sound like tiny, silvery bells. Bells.
Yeah, silvery tintinnabulation. At first he thinks maybe it's a memory fragment from his own trauma 20 years ago. But then he knows it's real, happening now.
Okay, that's weird. Anything else?
Yes, on Celine Lucas's bed, the daughter he finds Cal lilies, just lying there. And the official detective reports, they never mentioned any lilies.
So, missed evidence. Or something placed there after the police processed the scene.
Exactly the question John's asking. And his detective brain starts connecting dots, the bells, the lilies, other small decorative items mentioned vaguely in reports, a crystal cat, some geodes, candles, herbs.
Random stuff.
Seemingly. But John tracks them down. They all came from this one local store, Piper's Gallery.
Okay. And what's Piper's Gallery like?
It's described as having this incoherent mix of things, but John senses an elusive leitmotif, like a subtle, recurring theme running through it all. It makes him think these items weren't just random purchases. They point towards some kind of belief system, maybe a ritualistic element connecting the victims. So it's moving beyond just similar murders now into something ritualistic,
Yeah.
patterned.
Precisely. And this is where that seed of doubt or maybe certainty really starts to grow in John. He feels this creeping dread, this supernatural certainty that whatever this is, it's not finished.
Like a premonition.
Yeah, almost. His car literally shudders for no reason. He starts feeling an oppressive aura around his own house. He starts to wonder, is it just his fear making him paranoid? Or is his fear somehow attracting this thing, inviting it in?
Oh, that's a terrifying thought that your own vulnerability could be a beacon for, whatever this is. It challenges that rational detective mindset he relies on.
Absolutely. And it shows how we often cling to logical explanations, right? Even when the evidence screams otherwise. Maybe real strength starts when you admit some things just don't fit the standard playbook.
And this pressure, this inexplicable threat, it doesn't just stay with John. It starts to seep into his family life.
Yeah, the focus shifts, and we see how this presence, this evil, starts to target his family members individually.
Let's talk about the Calvino family. There's John, obviously. Who else?
There's his wife, Nicolette. Everyone calls her Nikki. She's a successful artist. Then the kids. Zach, the oldest son, he's really into the Marines, military history, loves drawing.
Okay.
Then Naomi, the older daughter. She's a flautist, loves wearing hats, and seems a bit more open to the mysterious, maybe even the magical.
Interesting.
And finally, Minnie, the youngest. She's described as having this really unique imagination, builds amazing things with Legos. She's quirky and perceptive.
A pretty normal, vibrant family on the surface.
Totally. Which makes what happens next even more disturbing. The evil, or whatever it is, starts creating these unsettling occurrences tailored to each of them.
Like what happens to Nikki?
Nikki, the artist, has this terrifying moment in the bathroom. She sees a figure in the mirror, feels this wave of Arctic cold, and the mirror appears to shatter into a million pieces. But then it's fine. It didn't actually break.
Whoa. Psychological warfare.
Exactly. Later, she's working on photographic studies for a family portrait, and she sees a shadowy figure lurking in the background of the photos.
Okay, that's deeply unsettling. What about Zach, the aspiring Marine?
Zach experiences physical disturbances. His closet door opens by itself. He looks in the mirror and sees his reflection with black eyes.
Black eyes, like demon eyes.
That's the implication. And then there's this really bizarre thing. He finds a stainless steel meat fork in the kitchen, but the tines are somehow twisted into this intricate braid, physically altered.
How is that even possible?
It defies explanation. He also starts having nightmares about Ugly Al. That was his childhood nickname for Alton Turner Blackwood, the man who killed John's family.
So the past is literally haunting the next generation's dreams.
Yes. And complicating things for Zach, he's also developing feelings for a girl, Laura Lee Highsmith, but he feels like these tender emotions are somehow unmasculine, which adds another layer of internal conflict the entity seems to exploit.
And Naomi, the flautist, the one more open to mystery.
She has perhaps the strangest encounters. First, this odd meeting with a complete stranger, a woman named Melody Lane, who gives her this cryptic warning. The frost is on the briar rose, and the coming twilight is no friend of ours.
Okay, very poetic and ominous.
Right. Then Naomi actually witnesses things that seem like straight-up magic, A book levitates off a shelf, grapes disappear into a mirror she's holding. These experiences push her further towards believing in something beyond the ordinary.
So the entity is almost confirming her worldview, but in a sinister way.
Possibly. Or maybe she's just more attuned to seeing it. And then there's Minnie, the youngest.
With the Legos, what does she experience?
Minnie's perspective is fascinating. The source mentions an earlier illness where she had fever dreams. In these dreams, she saw these complex Lego shapes that she felt were like the ideas from which everything started, the things that held up the universe.
Wow, that's profound for a little kid.
Isn't it? And she also interacts with the ghost of their family dog, Willard, who died. She says Willard comes to the glass door and paws at it, trying to warn them about things.
A ghost dog warning them. Okay, this family is dealing with a lot.
Understatement. And while all this is happening to his family, John is becoming more and more isolated. He feels he can't tell Nikki about his deepest fears, his supernatural suspicions. He doesn't want to terrify her, or maybe he fears she won't believe him.
And he can't talk to his colleagues either, right? He got put on leave.
Exactly. A colleague, Ken Sharp, filed a report citing John's illicit activities like visiting the crime scene unofficially and his undisclosed childhood trauma. So bang, 30-day leave without pay. He's cut off professionally just when he needs resources the most.
Oh, where is he? Sure.
He tries talking to a priest, Father Bill, but Father Bill is very modern, rational. He dismisses ghosts and demons as medieval ideas and superstition. He basically tells John the solution is like social action, community work, food banks.
Probably not the advice John feels he needs right now.
Not really. So then he seeks out Peter Abelard. Abelard is a defrocked priest, someone who does believe in demons, who acknowledges the reality of this kind of evil because he struggles with his own falls from grace. He even sets his watch back every time he feels he's sinned.
So Abelard offers a different perspective, acknowledges the possibility of what John's facing.
He does, but maybe not concrete answers on how to fight it. John is just desperately trying to figure out how you combat something that seems completely unhinged from reality as he knows it.
And then he remembers something specific, right? Something Blackwood said.
Yes. This is the moment it all crystallizes into pure terror for him. He remembers Blackwood's promise from 20 years ago, right after John shot him. Blackwood said, "You'll be a daddy someday.
Right.
Then I'll come back and use your wife and kids harder than I use your slutty sisters here tonight."
Oh my God. That's horrifyingly specific.
And John realizes this isn't random. This isn't just echoes. This is that promise coming true. He even starts counting down the days, 66 days until December 10th, the anniversary of the Valdine murders. It's a personal, terrifying countdown.
This brings us to the core concept of the evil itself. It's not just a ghost, it's called the writer.
Right. Koontz presents this idea of the evil as this parasitic entity, a spirit, maybe Blackwood's, maybe something controlling Blackwood that literally rides people like a horse. It takes them over completely.
Yep, absolute session.
Absolute control. And its goal seems to be pure destruction, chaos. It enjoys the theft of life, seeing it as the ultimate act of theft. It doesn't just want to kill, it wants to corrupt and destroy everything that makes us human.
And we see it jump from host to host.
Right.
It's not tied to just one person.
Exactly. It uses people up and moves on. Billy Lucas was just the first one we see clearly. After John's visit, Billy seems to become this broken boy, almost empty, suggesting the writer has left him.
So where does it go?
It finds others. There's Reese Salcedo, described as a sociopath, and a thug who's actually thrilled by the possession because it frees him from any remaining constraints. He commits another murder that echoes the past ones, but gets killed himself.
So the hosts aren't necessarily safe either.
Not at all. Then there's Andy Taine, a corrupt cop. The writer uses him to kill his own partner and other witnesses. But Taine is already so steeped in his own everyday evil that the possession is less about ecstasy and more like an automatismic trance. He just carries out the acts.
Wow. So it adapts its expression based on the host.
It seems like it. Then it finds Preston Nash. He's the son of John's parents' estate managers, kind of a recluse with issues, prone to fugues or blackouts. The writer uses him to gain access to the Calvino home itself. And under its influence, Nash loses all fear, only anticipating more outrageous and thrilling acts.
Getting closer and closer to the family.
Definitely. And then there's Melody Lane, remember her? The woman who gave Naomi the cryptic warning?
Yeah, the frost is on the Briar Rose lady.
Turns out she's a serial child murderer. She appears demure, almost shy, charms kids, but believes she's saving the planet by eliminating CO2 breathers. The writer uses her charm as a weapon, letting her delight in the children's giggles as she kills them.
That is profoundly disturbing. Evil hiding in plain sight.
And there are others mentioned too, a Professor Sinyavsky, a Roger Hod individuals who become instruments, specifically targeting the Calvino children later on. It's like the writer is assembling an army, using anyone susceptible.
And the house itself starts to feel complicit.
Yeah, the atmosphere in the Calvino home becomes oppressive. It feels like the house is actively scheming to isolate the family members from each other, making them more vulnerable. John feels that countdown clock ticking louder and louder towards December 10th, but the immediate threat feels like it could boil over any second.
Which it does. Everything culminates on one specific night, right? October 4th.
Yes, the night of the final stand. The family senses something is coming. John tries to prepare them, though he still holds back the full, terrifying supernatural truth from Nikki.
How does Nikki react? She seemed targeted earlier, but is she ready for this?
Surprisingly, yes. The book describes Nikki as an artist who felt above all the need to serve truth. And faced with this, her instinct is to believe John and fight. She doesn't crumble. She picks up a shotgun. There's this incredible strength there.
That's powerful. Is there a key moment between John and Nikki before it all goes down?
There is. It's really intense. John tells her, "It can't get in you, not you," trying to reassure her, maybe himself too. But then he warns her, "If it's in me, it'll go for you first because you have the other gun."
Wow. He's admitting his greatest fear, not just dying, but being turned into the weapon against his own family.
Exactly. It highlights his unique vulnerability because of his past, because of Blackwood's specific threat against his future family.
And then the invasion starts.
Yes. Preston Nash, ridden by the spirit, gets into the house using a key his parents, the estate managers, had. Crucially, the alarm system fails. It was set, but it doesn't go off.
The house failing them.
Or the entity overriding it. The attacks are brutal and simultaneous. Creston goes after Nikki. Zach finds himself fighting Melody Lane, the child killer, who's now wielding a meat cleaver. He uses a Mameluke sword, one from his collection.
A sword fight in the hallway. This is intense.
Totally. Naomi gets trapped in a bathroom by Roger Hod. It's chaos everywhere. And then it gets even weirder. Professor Sinyavsky's corpse is somehow reanimated and joins the attack.
A reanimated corpse.
Oh.
Okay, all bets are off now.
Completely supernatural territory. But in the middle of all this horror, it's Minnie, the youngest, who has the key.
Minnie, with the Legos.
Yes! She's clutching this strange Lego contraption she built, something she calls a wheel thing, based on one of her dreams. And as everything is falling apart, she holds it up and declares what it is.
Yeah.
She says it's the power that makes a highway through a sea, wakes the dead. It's whatever you need it to be when you need it, and what you need is a door.
What you need is a door. What does John make of that?
It's his light bulb moment, his aha. He suddenly understands. He opened the door to this evil. Not intentionally, but through his trauma, his obsession with the past case, maybe even his survivor's guilt over the Valdane murders, it all created an opening.
So if he opened it.
He realizes he has to be the one to close it, and not through social action like Father Bill suggested. He needs something else, a miracle, or as he thinks of it, maybe an antisocial action. He needs to confront the source directly.
So what does he do? How does he use this door?
He decides to sacrifice himself. He stands before this conceptual portal, maybe embodied by Minnie's Lego wheel, and he shouts, "Take me, take me, take me." He offers himself to the writer, to ruin, as the entity is sometimes called.
He invites it in. After seeing what it does to people.
Yes, but he has a trick up his sleeve.
Huh.
As he invites it in, pretending to be broken and offering himself completely, he deliberately focuses his mind on a very specific, private memory. His first girlfriend, Cindy Schooner, and a moment of intimacy they shared.
Why that memory?
The idea seems to be that this pretense of weakness, masking a hidden, deeply personal, positive thought, somehow tricks the entity. It expects pure despair or hatred, maybe, but finds this core of something else.
Does it work?
It seems to. The entity, Ruin, rushes into John. At that exact moment, the reanimated professor just collapses, lifeless again. The weird lattice-like structure that had trapped Zach and Minnie instantly unravels.
So John contains it within himself. What happens to him?
He's immediately slammed back in time, mentally, to the night his family was murdered 20 years ago. He relives the entire scene confronting Alton Turner Blackwood, hearing that horrifying threat about his future family again.
He has to face it all over again.
Yes, but this time feels different. He shoots Blackwood again in this reliving, but keeps shooting, making absolutely sure he's dead. It feels like, by taking the entity in and confronting the memory head-on, he's not just remembering, he's somehow ritually severing the connection, breaking the cycle right at its origin point.
Wow. So he confronts the past to save the present.
In a very direct, almost mystical way. And after that, the immediate threat is gone.
What's the aftermath like for the family?
There's a sense of quiet relief, exhaustion. The family survived. They're deeply changed, obviously, but they're intact. The cycle of horror that Blackwood started, the one that echoed with Billy Lucas, seems broken, at least for them.
Any lingering loose ends?
So the Nashes, Preston's parents, and the estate managers, they quietly move away to California. New managers are hired, the Butterfields, and pointedly Mr. Butterfield is a former Marine, suggesting a new kind of protector.
A nice touch of security.
Yeah. And the family gets a new dog, a golden retriever named Roscoe. And Minnie, in her beautifully unique way, declares that Willard, their ghost dog, approved of him.
That's actually quite sweet. A bit of normalcy returning.
Exactly.
Right.
So the Calvino family makes it through this unimaginable ordeal. The door John opened was closed, but you have to assume the memory, the knowledge of what they faced, stays with them.
It really shows how evil can wear the most ordinary faces, emerge from people you'd never suspect, or even, as John realized, from within yourself, from your own pain.
Absolutely. This deep dive really highlights fear as this tangible, almost active force that can literally open pathways to terrifying things.
But it also, I think, points towards a different kind of strength.
Yeah.
Right? Not just denying the impossible, but maybe embracing vulnerability, trusting your gut, your intuition.
And even daring to believe in, well, miracles or maybe just unconventional solutions when logic hits a dead end, like Minnie's Lego door.
Yeah. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
Right.
What kind of door, maybe opened by fear or trauma, might be waiting to be acknowledged, to be named in your own world? And if you found it, what would you be willing to sacrifice to close it?